My mom and sister took my daughter to a mall and told security she was trying to steal. They smirked as she was dragged away. She looks like trouble, my mom said. She's always been a liar, my sister added. 3 days later, they got a letter from someone who saw everything. I still replay that day in my head more times than I care to admit. It wasn't just the sight of my daughter being dragged off by mall security, it was the smirks. The satisfaction on their faces. My mother and sister, the two people who should have protected Callie, stood there like they were watching a plan fall perfectly into place. The guard didn't know what was happening. She thought she was doing her job. But I knew. I knew immediately this was calculated. Callie had gone to the mall thinking she was going to get ice cream with her grandmother and aunt. Maybe look at shoes or buy a book. Instead, she was humiliated, framed, and accused of being a criminal. And worse, betrayed by her own family. 3 days later, when the letter from the retired judge came in the mail, everything changed. But let me take you through what happened right after that awful day at the mall. When we got home that evening, Callie didn't say much. She took off her coat, went straight to her room, and closed the door. I heard her turn the lock. It was the first time she'd ever done that. I just stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge like it could offer me some sort of answer. That night I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about what kind of person, what kind of mother does that to her own granddaughter. I wasn't surprised, and that was the worst part. My whole life, Rowena had controlled people with guilt, shame, and psychological warfare. But Callie? My sweet, awkward, funny kid? She was supposed to be safe. She was supposed to be untouched by that kind of darkness. The next morning, I tried to talk to her. I made tea. Knocked gently on her door. You don't have to talk, I said. I just want to sit with you. She let me in, eventually. Her face was pale, eyes puffy. But she leaned into me, just a little. We sat on the edge of her bed, neither of us saying much. Then she whispered, "Why did they hate me so much?" It felt like 1,000 knives to the chest. I didn't have an answer. Not one that would make sense to a teenager who just had her reality shattered. So I told her the only truth I knew: they hate anything they can't control. That day, I blocked both Rowena and Trish on every platform. I didn't tell them what I knew. Not yet. I wanted to see what they'd do. Would they try to reach out? Apologize? Come clean? Of course not. Trish posted on Facebook the next afternoon something vague but cutting: "It's funny how the truth makes liars squirm. I'll always protect my family, even if others refuse to." Rowena commented with a heart emoji. I took a screenshot. Saved it. And that night, I pulled the envelope from the drawer and reread the letter. The letter was short. 1 page. No fluff. Just the facts. A retired judge, someone who had nothing to gain, witnessed Rowena slip makeup into Callie's bag and send Trish to alert security. She'd seen it all. She wrote that she was disturbed. That this was emotional torment. That she was willing to testify. The moment I finished reading it again, my pulse started racing. My hands trembled, but not from fear. It was something else. Something hot. Steady. Righteous. I called my old college roommate, Marcella. She was a lawyer now focused on family law and advocacy work. I explained everything, read her the letter over the phone. She didn't hesitate. "We go after them," she said. "This isn't petty. This is calculated harm against a minor. This is serious, Delia." By the following week, Marcella had filed formal reports with mall security, local police, and even started paperwork for a civil suit. She drafted cease and desist letters for both Rowena and Trish. She even spoke to Judge Langley, who confirmed, without a second's hesitation, that she was fully prepared to testify under oath. Still, I wanted more. Not vengeance, exactly. Just exposure. The truth had to be known. So I took to Facebook. It wasn't dramatic or theatrical. I didn't even start with an angry tone. I simply posted, "Some of you know my mother and sister. Some of you think they're charming, loyal, and kind. I thought so too until they framed my daughter for theft, in public, and told security she was a foster kid with a criminal record. She's 17. She's never stolen anything in her life. And thanks to a stranger who saw the whole thing, a retired judge, we now have a statement and a witness. For those asking why we've gone no contact, this is why." I attached a redacted copy of the letter. Names visible. Identifying details blurred. The response was nuclear. Friends messaged me, shocked. People from my high school days commented with apologies for not believing me back when I talked about how cruel my mother had been. Someone even shared that Trish had pulled stunts like this before, always mean-spirited, always targeting people who didn't play by her rules. Rowena's book club disbanded the next week. Trish's real estate license was suspended pending review. Apparently, her brokerage wasn't fond of having someone involved in a public child endangerment scandal on staff. None of that erased what happened. But it brought validation. For me. For Callie. And for the first time in years, I felt powerful. After that post went viral, things started shifting fast, almost faster than I was ready for. People reached out from every corner of my life. Former coworkers, neighbors I barely knew, even an old classmate of mine who used to babysit Trish and me when we were little. One message stood out. She said, "I always wondered if it was just me. Your mom scared the hell out of me even when I was 15. Turns out, the truth has gravity. And when it drops, it pulls other truths to the surface." Rowena didn't respond publicly. She never did. That was her way. Control through silence, shame, plausible deniability. But I knew she saw the post. Trish, on the other hand, lashed out. She posted a long, rambling screed on her profile about jealousy and family betrayal, accusing me of weaponizing trauma for sympathy. Her tone was acidic, and the comments section was even worse. Half the people were defending her, half were calling her out. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. But even though we were starting to see consequences ripple outward, the hard part was what happened inside our own home. With Callie. She was quieter than usual. Not withdrawn, not cold but quieter. She started staying in her room more, headphones on, laptop open, expression blank. At first, I assumed she was decompressing. Maybe she just needed time. But one night, I found her in the kitchen, sitting on the floor by the fridge with the light off, scrolling through the comments on my post. Her eyes were rimmed red again. I sat next to her. "They keep saying I should have known better," she said, barely above a whisper. "Some of them think I was stupid for going with them. They don't understand. I just wanted a normal day." God. That cut deeper than anything Trish or Rowena had ever said. "They manipulated you," I said gently. "The way they always do. This isn't on you. It never was. But it feels like it is," she said. "Because they're family. And I thought they loved me." There's no perfect response to that. You can't logic someone out of betrayal. All you can do is sit in it with them. So I did. For a long time. We sat on that cold kitchen tile in the dark, and I let her cry. Not like a child, but like someone who had just lost a version of the world they thought they knew. In the following weeks, she started therapy. I didn't push it, I just gave her the option. She agreed, almost too quickly, and I realized then how badly she needed someone to talk to who wasn't me. Her therapist, a woman named Danielle, was calm and warm and let Callie lead the pace. Slowly, I started seeing flickers of my daughter again. Her music started playing from her room. One afternoon, I found her reorganizing her bookshelf and muttering about how no one should be alphabetizing series fiction. There was still pain there, of course. But pain is easier to carry when it has somewhere to go. And as she began to heal, I found myself angrier. Not in a red-hot, impulsive way. in a quiet, deliberate one. I kept thinking about all the times I had justified Rowena's behavior. All the holidays I gritted my teeth and smiled for photos. All the fake hugs, the just let it go moments. I had done it to protect peace, but it wasn't peace. It was silent. And silence is what lets them do what they did. Marcella kept me updated. The civil case was moving. Slowly, because these things always do. But Judge Langley had already submitted a sworn affidavit. She wanted to testify. This kind of manipulation, she'd written, is exactly what destroys trust between generations. I will not stand by. God bless that woman. One morning, I got a letter. Not legal, not formal. Just a card. It had a bluebird on the front. Inside, in Rowena's sharp cursive, were 2 sentences. I hope you're proud of what you've done. You've torn this family apart. I didn't even finish reading it. I dropped it into the trash. Not dramatically. Just, quietly. And when I looked up, Callie was standing in the doorway. She hadn't seen the note, but maybe she didn't need to. Was it her? She asked. I nodded. She didn't say anything. Just stepped into the kitchen, opened the trash lid, and placed a banana peel right on top of the card. I'm making waffles, she said. We didn't talk about it again that day. But I realized something then: revenge doesn't always look like screaming matches or grand takedowns. Sometimes it's watching the people who tried to ruin you fade into irrelevance. Sometimes it's waffles on a Saturday morning, in a quiet kitchen, with the windows open and sunlight streaming in. The world kept turning. Callie applied to an early entry college program. I focused on work and rest. And the case continued behind the scenes. But the real justice? It had already started. Not because of what we lost, but because of what we reclaimed. A few weeks passed, then a month. And during that time, something in Callie shifted. It wasn't sudden, it was more like watching ice slowly melt under sunlight. She started getting up earlier. She joined me on weekend errands, volunteered to drive when I was tired. Once, she even asked if I wanted to go with her to a bookstore downtown. That used to be our thing. We'd get tea after, and she'd pick out one book she could convince me to buy. That day, she picked 2. I didn't argue. On the drive home, she was quiet, then said, "Do you think they were trying to hurt you, not just me?" I kept my eyes on the road. "I think they wanted to hurt anything I loved," I said finally. "Because they could never stand to see me happy. Not even a little." Callie nodded like she already knew the answer. She probably did. She was just checking to see if I would say it out loud. And maybe that was the thing I'd been learning too, that healing sometimes comes from naming what happened. From taking something ugly and saying, "Here. Look. This is real." The legal wheels turned slowly, but they turned. Marcella kept us informed. The civil suit was officially filed. It named both Rowena and Trish, citing malicious false reporting, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and reputational damage. Judge Langley's statement made a powerful backbone for the complaint. Rowena never responded directly. Instead, she tried to paint the entire situation as a family squabble blown out of proportion. Trish did file a statement laced with fake concern and vague accusations. "We feared for the safety of shoppers," she wrote, and felt obligated to intervene. Marcella called me laughing after reading it. "She sounds like a Hallmark villain," she said. "It's almost impressive." I didn't laugh, but it was the first time I felt like maybe we weren't the ones being picked apart anymore. Maybe we were building something back, piece by piece. By early spring, something unexpected happened. I got an email from the school district where I work. One of the senior administrators had read the public post I'd made months earlier. She'd also seen the follow-up coverage because yes, a local parenting blog had picked up the story after someone submitted it anonymously. "We'd love for you to speak at the next district-wide mental health summit," the email read. "Specifically about emotional torment and generational trauma. Your story really resonated. I almost deleted the email. Not because I didn't want to do it, but because I wasn't sure I could. I wasn't a therapist. I wasn't an author. I was just a woman who got tired of being quiet. But Callie read it over my shoulder. You should do it, she said. If you had heard someone say what you just lived through, maybe things would have been different a lot sooner. That stuck with me. So I said yes. The day of the summit, I stood on stage in a simple navy dress, palms sweating as I gripped the microphone. Hundreds of educators, counselors, and parents watched me. I didn't read the script. I just told the truth. I told them what it felt like to be the scapegoat in your own family. To grow up thinking you were the problem, only to realize you were just the mirror that made people uncomfortable. I told them how I'd tried to shield my daughter from it all and how even with every precaution, that darkness found its way to her. But what they didn't count on, I said, my voice shaking, was that we'd survive it. And not just survive. We'd tell the truth. Out loud. In front of everyone. There was silence. Then applause. Some people stood. Afterward, a dozen people came up to talk to me. Teachers. Counselors. Parents who'd gone no contact with siblings or mothers. One woman just hugged me without saying a word. That night, Callie asked how it felt. Like I finally stopped whispering, I said. She smiled. Good. It's about time. Meanwhile, Marcella forwarded me a letter from Rowena's lawyer. They were requesting mediation. To avoid the stress of litigation, they said. For the good of the family. We declined. Politely. Formally. Because the truth is there was no family left to save. There was me, and there was Callie. And for the first time, that was enough. I used to think closure came with apologies. That maybe one day, my mother or sister would look me in the eye and admit what they did not just to Callie, but to me, to our childhoods, to all the invisible wounds they left behind. But healing doesn't wait on apologies that may never come. And closure? Sometimes it's not a door slamming shut, but one gently being locked from the inside by you. By late spring, the legal case was inching toward trial. Rowena's team was trying to drag their feet, filing extensions and delay requests. Marcella wasn't fazed. It's a textbook, she said. They're hoping you'll get tired. I wasn't tired. I was more awake than I'd been in years. Trish, surprisingly, was the first to crack. One afternoon, Marcella forwarded me an email. It was from Trish's attorney. A single paragraph: she was requesting to be removed from the suit, willing to sign a formal statement admitting her part in the incident in exchange for immunity from further civil liability. She wanted to walk away with her reputation scraped but intact. Marcella asked what I wanted to do. I told her, she can write the truth. But she doesn't get to vanish quietly. And so she did. Trish's affidavit spelled it out in cold, legal language. Yes, the item was planted. Yes, she was instructed to get security. Yes, she had lied to protect her mother. Yes, she knew Callie was innocent. That statement was public record now. The news reached Rowena within a week. I don't know how she took it. I don't care. But the very next week, we got an envelope in the mail. Unmarked, again. Inside was a typed letter. No greeting. No apology. Just a single sheet, and signed. I was raised to believe women must control the narrative to survive. That sometimes harm is necessary to teach lessons. Maybe you'll never understand that. But maybe that's for the best. I read it once. Callie didn't want to read it at all. I burned it in the fireplace the same night. Not as some grand symbol, but because I didn't want her words in our home anymore. She could have her twisted beliefs. Her need to control the narrative. But the narrative was out. And for once, it didn't belong to her. The lawsuit moved forward and in the end, Rowena settled. Quietly. Financial compensation. A formal letter of acknowledgement. No contact order renewed and extended. She wasn't allowed to speak publicly about us again. Not in interviews. Not in writing. Not to anyone we know. It was everything we'd asked for. Not flashy. Not dramatic. Just accountability. With teeth. And the best part? Callie didn't just survive it, she grew from it. That summer, she gave a presentation at her school's leadership workshop about redefining family. She talked about setting boundaries. About unlearning shame. About how you can love yourself better by letting go of people who treat you like a project instead of a person. I sat in the back of that auditorium, surrounded by teachers and peers and a few parents who'd come to listen. And when she finished calm, clear, confident, the applause was long, and loud, and earned. Later that night, she curled up beside me on the couch. "You know what the worst part was?" she said. I turned to her, ready. I believed them. For a few minutes, I really believed I must have done something wrong. That may be a problem. I felt that ache rise again, but before I could speak, she added, "But I don't anymore." I looked at her, this girl who had walked through fire, came out scarred but strong, and still had a heart that hadn't hardened into stone. "They didn't win," she said softly. "No," I said. "They didn't." And in that moment, with the windows open, the spring breeze moving through the curtains, and the scent of jasmine drifting in from the porch, I realized something simple but powerful. Revenge doesn't always wear red. Sometimes, it looks like peace. Sometimes, it sounds like silence. Sometimes, it smells like fresh air in a house where no one has to lock their bedroom door anymore.